everybody.
Hey, everybody! Welcome from Extraordinary Adventures. My name is Laura,
I'm Scott.
and we are joined today with Oceania Cruises. They are going to tell us everything that makes Oceania extraordinary, and we are joined by Guillaume, who is the strategic account manager for Oceania, and we just finished up his presentation, and it was amazing and so thorough. So I hope you all enjoy it as much as we did.
And I think I
If
just
you
booked a cruise between when we stopped and you went to the bathroom. I think I just booked a cruise. I didn't want to tell
Oh,
you, but
oh,
secret's out of the bag. We're going on Oceania, the 82
well, we
night
are going on.
round the world. Yep, you're welcome. Okay, maybe we're not doing that, but we will be going on Oceania. You're right, the Oceania Vista.
Yeah.
So we're very excited for that coming up in a few months. But yeah, like Laura was saying, Guillaume was fabulous. His presentation was so encompassing. There's so much great information in there, and please stay through to the end. There's so much that he covers that you don't want to miss. But of course, make sure you like and subscribe with the notification bell on first before everything else.
Yes. And we are travel advisors. So if you are looking to book an Oceania cruise or any other cruise line, please do reach out to us. We do not charge a fee to book and manage your cruise. Plus, if you do book with us, we offer expert planning advice and answer any questions you might have along the way. So please do reach out. And with that, no further ado, right, Scott?
Right, no, take it away, Scott and Laura.
Take it away.
Laura, Scott, hit it. All right. Well, thank you, Scott and Laura. We are very happy to be here today with a fabulous gentleman, sexy as well as good looking, as well as intelligent, and just really a powerhouse in the cruise industry. We are here with Guillaume Cameron from Oceania Cruises. He is a strategic account manager for Oceania, and we're just very happy to be with you here. Thank you for joining us, Guillaume.
Yeah, thanks so much, Scott and Laura. Lovely to see you guys. It's been a little while, but yeah, quite the introduction there. Wow. I don't think I've had one of those ones before, so...
Well, we like to keep it honest here, and sexy and smart is what comes to mind when I think
it's
of
what sells, right?
Exactly. All right, well, welcome. So we are going to talk today about Oceania Cruises. Laura and I are very, very excited about Oceania Cruises.
We love Oceania.
I mean, I might say that often, but some lines really excite us a little bit more than others, and Oceania really hits the mark for us. We're fans, so we're excited to have you here today.
Yes.
Let's start off a little bit with who you are.
Sure.
Why should we listen to Guillaume?
So yeah, my name is Guillaume Cameron. As Scott mentioned, I'm the strategic account manager for Oceania Cruises. So a little bit about my background. It's maybe not the typical accent that you might be used to hearing here. I grew up in Scotland with a French name. My mum's French, dad's Scottish. So that's how I ended up with Guillaume. Cameron's a very Scottish name. And I actually used to work on ships, so that was kind of my introduction to the cruising industry all those many moons ago. If you can believe it, I actually started on ships when I was 22 years old. I worked on board for about 4 years. Scott, I don't know if I told you what I was on board. I don't know if you guys can remember.
What were you?
Always surprises a lot of people. I was actually a casino dealer. On board.
Okay.
So I did that for 4 years. Probably in that time I had maybe roughly around about 300 cruises under my belt. Wow. And it was a great lifestyle, a lot of fun. More likely than not, a young guy's game. So after those 4 years, I actually met my wife while I was on board, who was from Canada. After the 4 years, we decided to kind of move back to Scotland for a few years. In that time, we got married and ended up coming back over to Canada. So I reside in fantastic, beautiful British Columbia. And when I came to Canada, I actually started as a travel advisor and worked for around about 8 years as an advisor, selling quite a lot of cruises. And one of the kind of passions that started that off was that I was actually invited on board an Oceania cruise for a luncheon. And one of the things that really impressed me was the quality of the ship, the quality of the cuisine, and kind of became a little bit of a true believer at that point there. And as such, I was going through my career. I ended up kind of spearheading a cruise brand out here in Canada for a little while. And in that time, I ended up going to a pretty large online retailer there, and I was providing training content for some of their newer advisors to kind of learn more about cruise. And after that, I was doing actually a very kind of similar call with our Oceania rep out here in Vancouver, and there was an opportunity that kind of came up. And that's 5 years ago, so I've been with Oceania for 5 years now. And again, it was just a really good fit for me in terms of I've been on the ship side of things, on the selling side of things as an advisor for quite a few years, and then now on the supplier side of things. So basically, I think the last thing I've got to do is own a cruise line, and the circle will be complete. So yeah, that's kind of a quick synopsis of who I am and where I'm from. So it's kind of cruises coursing through my veins.
Yeah, apparently so. When you had said, Scott, I'm not sure I told you what I did on it. I thought immediately reigning sexiest man competition.
Like a dancer or a singer.
That's what I figured. You were the the draw.
Jazz hands all the time,
Yeah. So yes, that's a pretty amazing history. I love to hear clearly the passion that's for cruising. That's obviously equal to ours. So that's great. Laura always has usually a question here, and I don't know if she wants to ask it at this point, but basically I think why wouldn't our audience at home just call you guys? Why should they use a travel advisor? You were a travel advisor.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have an answer for why they really should just not call you guys and call us.
Yeah, it's a great question. So really, it's actually stems from our very, very beginning. So we were actually founded 20 years ago, and essentially we were created by a group of investment bankers from up in New York, who had the opportunity to buy these fantastic kind of custom built cruise ships that were really kind of very unique. And they wanted to create this unique concept and kind of disrupt the marketplace a little bit, and essentially kind of create this niche. Now, where this kind of fits into the travel advisor side of things was that essentially they invested absolutely everything into the cruise operation side of things, to the point where we actually didn't have anybody to sell us other than advisors. So really at the start of it, it was very much word of mouth and a product that we wholly believed in, but it could translate back into the travel advisor world and into the guest world, where we're providing this really great service where advisors would have the confidence and able to offer us as a brand. But we wanted also to work alongside the travel advisor community, because really it was you that were advocating for us. And we had to wholeheartedly make you believe in the product that we were able to provide to guests. So it was coming off the back of recommendations from the guest side, from the advisor side of things. So really, one thing that I will always say is advisors always advocate for their guests, and they're always going to put them on a product that they wholeheartedly believe in, because we want to share this great memorable experience to essentially, a lot of the time we're really trying to kind of deliver memories, and again, it's a great synergy, because essentially that's what a lot of advisors want to do, is kind of create this fantastic experience so that guests will come back again and again, again using you as an experience so that they can lean on your knowledge and expertise. So really that's why we've it's been in our DNA from the very, very start, is the partnership that we have with our travel advisors.
Yeah, no, and you can feel it. I mean, we look. It's no difference to Laura and I what our client buys. In that, whatever we'll get paid, whatever we get paid, right? But it matters to us in how they're going to be treated, what the experience is going to be like, and it. I think it speaks volumes the way that we interact with Oceano, the way we interact with you and your colleague Joe. I think that it speaks a lot for what their experience is going to be like on board. Again, we'll sell anything, but not really. If you're going to ask our advisor advice, Oceana is going to come to the top of that list often. Just, being honest.
Yeah. I advocate for my clients. Yes. Scott, we won't sell anything. What do you say?
All right. Maybe we won't sell anything.
I match my clients' preferences to the exact cruise line for them. So that's why I advocate for my clients. But every client is different, and every client has different wants and needs, and so different cruise lines are going to be better suited for different people. So
Correct. One of the things that I personally love, and without further ado, we're going to get into your presentation. I'm sure you're going to definitely touch on this. That we love about Oceana is the destination focus, and I think that might be a good kicking off point because I'm sure you're going to speak a lot about that, and because you did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Past, so let's.
What I'll do, I'll kind of jump into the presentation here. Hang tight here while we get this coming up.
To me, if you're looking for an extraordinary adventure that you can reach by ship, then Oceana is like one of those ships. If you're looking for the ship to be the destination, Oceana is a really great ship too. But to have both, I don't know. It's a nice mix.
So really, a great segue here. Your world, your way. That's really, as I mentioned previously, when we were created 20 years ago, we were really trying to kind of disrupt the marketplace a little bit. One thing is a cruise line. We're not really all things to all people. So it's kind of a niche that we were trying to create. And really, hopefully we can kind of touch on this today, how we try and deliver this. Now really, it's based around what we call our three pillars. So it's our curated travel experience, the beautiful ships that we have, and especially the exquisitely crafted cuisine. The only kind of issue with this marketing message is that every cruise line loves to talk about how great their destinations are. Every cruise line loves to talk about how great their ships are, and especially every cruise line loves to talk about how brilliant their cuisine is. So today I'd just like to explain how we kind of differentiate a little bit on these three things, and again how we kind of create memories around these. Now, as Scott, you mentioned, really right now the biggest trend that we have seen in the last kind of 18 to 12 months is small ship luxury. And as you mentioned, Scott, really the technology that these ships have these days, they're becoming bigger and bigger. There's go-karts, there's all sorts of different things that are on board these massive ships, and they're almost becoming the destination unto themselves. So for us at Oceana, really one of the first things is how we measure up here. And because we have this, what we call our small ship luxury, we're able to do things slightly differently to the larger cruise lines. And it allows us to do a number of different things in terms of immersing you in that destination. It goes a long way into the levels of service that we have on board. So really here, I mean, these ships that we're comparing against here are just some of the comparables and kind of the space that we share. However, there's ships that are probably even twice the size of these largest vessels on board. So one of the ways that we do differentiate here is we really have bought into what we call a residential design. So the way that we're designing our ships themselves is that really the goal here is that the destination is always going to be that for our guests, and really that's what drives them. When they come back on board, we want them to have a level of comfort when they're on board where they feel at home. So, they're going out for a long day, they want to explore, they want to get immersed into that destination. But when they come back on board, really what they're looking to do is have a fantastic meal, get great service, recharge, and be revitalized so that the following day they're able to go out and go back on those adventures as well. So that's kind of really what we've gone into the residential design side of things. A unique part of our ships as well is that really, you'll not find that when you go into one of the dining rooms, we have 2,000 chairs that all match together because we've gone in for like a bulk discount. No, all the social areas on board, we've got individualized pieces of furniture, individualized pieces of art on board. For example, I'm going to mention the Oceania fleet here. And we almost have $6 million worth of original artwork on a lot of our ships. Now, this doesn't mean that everybody's got $6 million worth of art lying at home, but it's of an interest to our guests where you can actually go on a walking tour and see these original Monets or original Dali art pieces on board, because it kind of inspires a lot of our guests. We have 3 different classes of vessels within our fleet. Now, we've just added our 7th vessel, which we're very excited to chat a little bit more about today. But it really all started off with the regatta class. These are absolutely, the best way to really think about these they're almost like boutique hotels at sea, really. They are there, again, for that level of comfort for you to get you into these beautiful small ports of call. We've only got 650 passengers on these vessels here. So again, that goes a long way into the level of service that you're going to get on board. For example, for that 650 passengers that we do have on board, we have roughly around about 400 crew. So we're almost sitting at about 1.5 to 1. Now, as a previous crew member, I can absolutely tell you it's a heck of a lot easier to look after 1.5 of you than it is to look after 1 in 3, 1 in 4 of you. So it goes a long way into the levels of service. Now, as you can see here, we've actually revitalized these 4 beautiful ships. So our regatta class is made up of the Regatta, the Nautica, the Insignia, and the Serena. We've actually revitalized these, so a lot of the colors that you're seeing are going to kind of closely match and resemble that nautical theme. There's a lot of silvers and emeralds that have gone in to kind of modernize a lot of these staterooms here. And really, one thing I would say about these ships themselves is that they're really there for that adventurer at heart. So again, they're getting you into those niche ports of call, where they're a little bit more off the beaten path. Obviously, because they are 650 passengers, that's something that you guys wanted to kind of discern about. One thing that we've actually recently done, and it's been another kind of trend in the industry that we've recently seen, is the popularity of solo travel. We've introduced these new solo staterooms actually through the Vista, which is our newest ship. And due to the popularity of those solo staterooms, we've actually introduced this into and retrofitted all of our regatta class ships to accommodate these new solo staterooms that are available for you as solo travellers. I don't know, Scott and Laura, are you feeling that's a bigger kind of trend that we're seeing in the industry at the moment?
I have a lot of clients, solo clients who travel. Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually just recently in LA doing a quick ship visit, and we're actually able to see these new solo staterooms, and really the great level of comfort in these. They're really well kind of suited out, and again, just a great level of comfort on board these fantastic little staterooms here. The Oceania class is made up of the Marina and the Riviera. These are actually custom built for us, so again, some really kind of unique levels. The Riviera just recently went in for a refurbishment a few months ago, and again, we've kind of really revitalized her to accommodate these fantastic levels of vessels. Now, if you're kind of newer to Oceania, definitely my recommendation is probably this is a great level of vessel to start with. It's really what we call our kind of Goldilocks version of ships. Really, these days, as mentioned before, the technologies that we're looking at, really we're finding that ships of around about kind of 1,200 is ships that are maybe not too big and not too small for a lot of guests' tastes. And really, this is where the Oceania class really fits in. Again, here's part of the revitalization. These are our penthouse suites, which are always super popular. We've revitalized them to have like these great walk-in showers as well. If you can see kind of in that top or that middle image there as well. And I mean, these are just our standard veranda staterooms as well, to give you an idea of how these, again, levels of comfort that you're on board. And as I say, it's kind of that Goldilocks zone of where a ship is able to provide this kind of great number of guests on board, whilst at the same time having enough amenities for you to be really interested in. And lastly, we're actually going to be introducing our Allura class, which is part of the newest ship we just delivered back there in May. This is the Oceania Vista. Really, this is a culmination of our design elements, our focus. It's just an absolutely stunning ship to be on board. One thing that we actually have seen as well is that this is really actually, even purely from like the aesthetics of the ship itself, is that we're really actually even driving a kind of younger element because of the great social areas on board. Again, mentioning we're one of the few companies at sea to include a concierge level solo veranda. Generally, you'll tend to find a lot of those solo staterooms are going to be in the interior of the ship. And again, going into this is like this is our again the beautiful design elements that we have on these vessels here, our standard verandas as well. And one thing that we are seeing here is that it's almost delivering a slightly younger demographic towards Oceania. Again, purely from that aesthetic look as well, and this is really culminated in the popularity from some of our solo staterooms here as well.
They're beautiful.
So where we really tend to find some of the bigger differences on board is, for example, we'll tend to find a lot of Oceania guests are very much kind of what we call doers, in that they love to participate in events, they love to really learn a little bit more about the destinations that they're traveling into. So one thing is that, for example, on board, some of the activities is that we have our enrichment series. Now, our enrichment series is, they're very much kind of in the way of TED Talks, where we have like a 45-minute presentation. Actually, I was lucky enough to be on an Alaska sailing last year, where we had a naturalist on board, where she was able to kind of talk about the wildlife that we were seeing in Alaska. This can match up generally locally wherever you're going. So, if we're going into the Mediterranean, we'll maybe have somebody talking about ancient Greece and the Roman Empire, and really talking about some of the historical elements that you're reaching into there. If you're going into South America, as you can see on the bottom right here, we have some workshops on photography, really catching those elements. So again, of either the wildlife down there or some of the stunning vistas. There as well, our entertainment on board is kind of very much more of a relaxed style. We do have some show style venues on our larger vessels. On the smaller vessels, it's kind of going to be a little bit more lounge style, so it's a relaxed manner whilst you're on board. One of the most popular activities is actually our cooking school. On board the Vista and on board the Oceania class, so the Marina and the Riviera, we actually have a cooking school on board where you get to doff your Oceania chef's hat here and try and cook like one of our fantastic chefs on board. These are always really popular and book out very, very quickly. So always great to kind of connect with Laura and Scott there if you do have a booking in place, to kind of make sure you're getting those in place for you. And again, if you're inspired by the artwork on board as well, you can try your own dab hand at becoming a Picasso. We actually have an artist in resident on board our Riviera, the Marina and the Vista. So if you do feel kind of inspired to go and do your own painting, again, it's that level of kind of activity of doing and being active whilst on board is a real big interest. And of course, we kind of culminate all this with our spa. We do have a kind of great wellness ethos on board as well. So the spa just doesn't necessarily encompass it doesn't just necessarily encompass like fitness classes. It will also will encompass that into like menu items that we have. So we have great healthy eating lifestyle on board. Additionally to that, we'll actually even pair these up with some shore excursions too. So if you feel kind of that way inclined, you know, for example, you could do like meditation up on a Greek mountain. You could do Pilates on a beach in Thailand. So there's kind of a whole wellness ethos that's created whilst on board. Again, just to kind of really deliver that relaxation whilst you're on board too. So really, kind of how we tie this all up is definitely through our service. Now, one thing that we'll generally tend to hear, and I'm sure Laura and Scott will really testify to this, is if you do have somebody coming back as an Oceania guest, generally it's the level of service that really goes above and beyond whilst on board. I mentioned the 1,200 guests that we have on board the Vista and the Marina and the Riviera. We generally have about 900 crew members on board, and really they've been trained in a level where we want to meet your needs before you're kind of even already thinking about this. So it's funny, it goes into a lot of small details that make a big difference to a lot of guests. You know, for example, if you're going to our baristas and you're ordering a cappuccino in the morning, you order a cappuccino the second time. The third time, more likely the barista is going to ask you, would you like a cappuccino this morning, sir? You know, it's these kind of levels that make a big difference. If you're ordering a steak and you decide to ask for green mustard with that, and you decide to order another steak that's second in the cruise, more likely than not it's going to come back with green mustard. So it's these small levels of attention to detail that really wraps up that whole onboard experience there. And I'm pretty sure, Laura and Scott, you can testify to that side of things.
Absolutely, yes. Level of service, top notch. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Right, and really, one thing, if you don't really know Oceania at all, it really is, our cuisine is what we're really notarized for. We win awards year after year within the cruise industry, and this even goes over and above the full-on luxury cruise lines. Now, this really started with this gentleman here, Monsieur Jacques Pepin. Jacques was a founding member, so again, when we were trying to go into that industry 20 years ago, we really followed Jacques' ethos here. And how we followed that up, it was from his recipe for success. Now, Jacques is actually a master chef, of which there's maybe only 300 or 400 in the world entirely. And at Oceania, we actually employ 3 master chefs. So one of the things is that it goes in a really high level of cuisine, and we really do put our money where our mouth is when it comes to our cuisine. And we actually spend more on ingredients than any other cruise line out there. Now, what this allows us to do differently is that because we're catering to so few on board, we can cook à la minute. So what that means is when the waiter's taking your order and taking it into the kitchen, that's where and when the meal's going to be prepared. We're not one of these industrial operations where we have to cater to 3,000 or 4,000 people of an evening. So for us to be able to be ready at 6 p.m. at night, we need to start prepping at 6 a.m. in the morning. No, we do it there and then in the spot, and that goes a long way into the level of taste that you're going to have on board. That also goes into the culinary team that we have on board as well. So of the 900 crew that we have on board the Vista, roughly around about half of them are dedicated to the culinary side of things alone. So it goes to show you the levels of commitments that we have on board for cuisine. One of the kind of running jokes as well is when we originally were making the Marina and the Riviera, the architect went back to our owner, Frank Del Rio, and asked him originally, he's like, listen, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to make a cruise ship, or are we trying to make a floating galley at sea? Now, for those of you who are kind of maybe a little bit unfamiliar with the cruising industry here, on some of these larger vessels, even though you may find that there's like 27 different restaurants on board, you'll tend to find that they are maybe serviced by 2 or 3 mega galleys on board. So that what this makes as differences, and especially when it comes to Oceania, is that, you know, these meals are kind of being shipped out to wherever it is on the ship itself. Whereas for us, as I mentioned, it's there and then on the spot. So when the meal's coming out, it's coming out hot and ready for you, and it's just been prepped. We cook everything from scratch. You'll tend to find very few things are frozen on board. We'll try and also, when we're in destinations locally, we'll try and match the cuisine as much as possible, where to the point, again, I was lucky enough to be on that Alaska sailing last year. I had a story where one of the guests was saying, yeah, I just saw the chef go out today and I saw him purchase a full halibut to bring back on board. So that night we were having fresh grilled halibut and part of on our buffet restaurant, which was getting grilled out on our veranda restaurant there, which was absolutely fantastic. It was so fresh and so great. Now, not only that, the cuisine is important for us, but where you dine is also important. Now, at Oceania, we know that you're intrepid enough as a traveller yourself, so often the first and second seating dining does not work for you. So really, in our grand dining room, you can eat when you want and where you want, with whom you want. We don't lock you into a table of 6, and then that's you at 6 o'clock at night, and that's you for the whole evening. You know, if you're going out for a long day at Rome, you might be coming back later to the ship, so that night you might have to dine at 8:30. And because you've had such a long day, the following day you want that freedom to be able to eat at 5 o'clock. So we do have those options available for you in that grand dining room. Again, we really want you to enjoy the cuisine. So one of the important things is that all of our specialty restaurants are already included in the cost of the sailing. We just simply ask for a reservation. One of the great things is that, obviously, again, going back into why we recommend working with travel advisors, you know, Laura and Scott are there for you because we allow you to actually book in advance prior to your cruise a number of different slots at these specialty restaurants. So Red Ginger is our Asian fusion cuisine. It's generally one of our most popular restaurants. You'll find that on board the Vista, the Riviera, the Marina, and the Serena. And this is absolutely unique cuisine here. One I would really recommend if you do go to Red Ginger is our crispy duck and watermelon salad. Sounds a little bit out there, but it really has these really bold flavors and just absolutely hits the spot fantastically. Ember is actually a new creation for us that's going to be on board the Vista. This matches closely with it's an Oceania twist on American cuisine. So you're going to find some like local favorites, but with an Oceania twist on those. So I'm sure this is going to be an absolute firm favorite moving forward. Toscana's is our authentic Italian restaurant here. So here, really, you want to think about is, you know, great seafood, obviously fantastic pasta. Again, a little bit of a difference when we start off the meal. We actually have a maitre d' come over with a trolley of different olive oils and different balsamic vinaigrette so that you can make your own combination to have with some of this fantastic bread that we make fresh every single day.
You're making me really hungry.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, that's it generally here, eh? You know, Polo Grill is always one of our favorites as well. This is our steak restaurant. So again, here, it's really fine cuts of meat here. You can have a 36-ounce porter steak if you so wish, and that's already included in the cost of the sailing. We're not asking for an additional $75 here. Again, it goes a lot into the relaxation of our ethos of whilst you're on board. So we want you to enjoy the cuisine. Here, actually, you'll find that we partner with a family over in Maine where we're able to ship fresh lobster to the ship pretty regularly so that you can have this absolutely authentic fresh Maine lobster at this restaurant here too. It's not all about steak and lobster though, guys. You know, as I mentioned before, we've got this great healthy ethos on board, and as a cruise line, definitely probably one of the biggest things I'm always asked is about dietary needs. And really, this is one of the things that we really excel at. One of the things that you can coordinate with Laura or Scott if you do have any dietary restrictions. We have, you know, a number of different ways that we can provide that. So that generally comes with starting off with a form. So, you know, be it if you're celiac or if you have different dietary needs, we're able to match those up. Even if you have to a point where your dietary needs is so severe, we'll actually have our maitre d' and one of the chefs sit down with you at the start of the cruise if needs be to kind of work through a custom menu for you here. Also, as I mentioned, it's not just about steak and lobster. We actually have over 250 different plant-based and vegetarian meal options there for you too, so you're never really going to be stuck for choice at all. Terrace Cafe, this is our standard buffet here. Now, one of the things, we were way ahead of the trend here, and our buffet has always been zero touch. Here it's a great little destination for you to eat al fresco in an evening, so I'm going to share a little image of myself in a little while of where I was, but it's great. I just love eating outdoors. Always one of my favorites when I'm ever on a cruise. I don't know about you guys.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to also take a moment and point out, I don't know if everyone else was noticing the decor. Like, so for me, I've been on quite a few mass market ships, and you go in, and the Italian restaurant looks like the French restaurant, looks like they all look the same. And the food can be good, and the service can be good. But every one of your venues was like intentionally designed to look a specific way. Everyone looked like I would feel comfortable eating there in a way that maybe the big guys can't touch.
Yeah,
maybe I shouldn't say that, but it seems to be true.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of the uniqueness too, right? I mean, actually here, like, we don't charge for many, as I say, we don't charge for any of our specialty restaurants. However, if you want to make a kind of special occasion here, on board the Vista, on board the Marina, and on board the Riviera, we actually have this little restaurant that's located in between Toscana's and Polo Grill. It's called Privé. So for a flat fee here, you can actually essentially rent this restaurant out for you and 10 of your closest friends. So we allow up to 10 people into this venue here. Here you're going to have a maitre d', you're going to have a sommelier, and you're going to have a waiter and an assistant waiter look after you for the evening. And as I say, for this one flat fee, it creates these fantastic memories for you to enjoy. Now, definitely one thing I would say is, birds of a feather flock together. And really, many Oceania guests, either one, if they're traveling by themselves to start off with, they connect with people on board where they will be like, you know what, next time we're going to coordinate and all travel together. Or if not, we really do have a crowd that's very, very social and love to share those experiences. And in here, Privé, you can have that with that beautiful dine party. This was my experience here. I was lucky enough to be in Greece last year, so this was taken by our assistant waiter here, and this was going out the Greek Isles, and then really, our waiter here, if he so wishes, I think he's going to get a view of he's going to start a career as a cinema director here, because really captures the moment fantastically. And again, it's just a great dining venue to have with guests and really share those fantastic memories there. So just a kind of little snippet of it there.
And Guillaume, just to clarify, when you rent that space, it can be for the entire evening, or is it
for the entire evening? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's for you and your friends. We have this specially selected menu. It's usually like a 7-course meal that we'll have there. Great entrees all the way through to fantastic desserts.
Gorgeous.
It's just one of these unique things that can really deliver an experience. We also have our culinary dining center, so again, your participation is here as well. So on board the Vista, we actually enhanced that concept where we've added a different dining venue on board as well. So once you've created that Oceania cuisine yourself, you can take it into this fantastic restaurant and again share with friends or share with new friends here. As I say, our guests are very much doers. They love to kind of participate. So this is kind of another unique concept that we have on board here. And then this is our super. This is the one that always drives it home for me. Champagne experience with Dom Perignon. We're the only cruise line at sea to be partnered with Dom Perignon. And again, it goes into a thought process here where we actually invited a number of sommeliers and grandmasters from the Moët Chandon cellars in France to come over And they work closely with our chefs at our head office in Miami for a number of weeks to create this really unique experience. So it is our Dom Perignon experience, where it's a 6-course paired meal with 3 different vintages of Dom Perignon. Now, this is one of the ones that we do actually add as an additional cost, but it really is in place if you're having a special occasion to celebrate. These 3 different vintages are really paired in a different manner with these really unique types of dishes. Again, that will drive home a memorable experience for yourself there as well. Now, really, one thing I would say is if you are contacting Laura and Scott here, more likely than not, I would definitely say it's probably the destination that's really driven you to them and to chat to them a little bit more. And how we deliver differently on the experience outside and into the heart of the destination is really, again, it's an ethos that we've built over a number of years, and it starts with exploring without the crowds. A good example of this is actually my hometown here in Vancouver. You'll very rarely see us in Vancouver over the course of the weekend. And why that is that's when everybody else is here. So even if we're going to go into some of these larger ports of call, we're trying to view it in a different way, where we're trying to get into that port where we're either the only ship or maybe one of another ship there. So it's these small things that make a big difference to your experience of getting into that destination.
It really does. Can I jump in real quick? Give a personal story. Laura and I were recently on a mass market line, and we were in Santorini.
Yes,
or
it was
again,
Santorini.
it was Santorini.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what Guillaume was talking about. You go in there, and we're there with 4 or 5 other ships. Oh my God, is it overrun with people?
25,000 passengers were in Santorini that day.
The next day, one of your competitors, who is a very good line as well, was the only one in port that day. And they had 650 people on their ship. That's who was in their port that day. So I'm sorry to bring up your competitor, but it's the same idea. You're taking them when there's not 25,000 people there.
Now, one thing I would say is actually on that Greek sailing was there last year. We were also in Santorini. Now, we did have a few other ships in with us that day. It's really hard to coordinate. So sometimes, yes, we will be in with other people. But one thing that we did differently is that we were there until 10:30 at night. So whilst everybody else was scrambling to get down into the gondola,
Right.
it was almost a bit of a fun sport to watch. I was in there and it's just at one of the restaurants, and all of a sudden I see 3,000 Italians all trying to fight with each other to try and get down into the gondola, right? So whilst I was there knowing that, I can be here until 10 o'clock at night, no problem at all.
Huge difference. It's a huge
It
difference.
makes that difference, yeah. And really, where we started off was trying to find these unique ports of call. The Mediterranean was our bread and butter, and actually, it really started here in Monte Carlo. So our owner Frank Del Rio, when he was here, he was on another cruise line, and this is the Grand Casino Square in Monte Carlo, and he was in the restaurant on the left hand side of the picture there. And he was there having a cocktail, and it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He looks at his watch, he's like, darn, I have to be back on board in an hour's time here. So really, one of the ethoses is here is that we're trying to stay longer in destination, as mentioned in Santorini. And we were either trying to do that or even stay more overnights in destination. So it gets you into the heart of the destination where you can experience it when it's most vibrant. So again, that really goes into the exploration and the intrepidness of our guests. Now, it goes into a little bit in how we build our packages as well. One of the things is we allow our guests to go in and have shore excursions as part of a package. Having said that, our guests are intrepid enough where they don't necessarily need the hand-holding with some of these all-inclusive lines. With some of these all-inclusive lines, you pay one price and it's all in if you want it or if you've not. So if you've been at Santorini or if you've been to Sorrento and you know that fantastic little restaurant that you want to go back into, well, sorry, you're going to have to take a shore excursion with some of these other lines. Whereas with us, we know you've potentially been to some of these ports of call before, and you want to revisit it in your own way, but you've maybe never been to Kotor and Montenegro before, so you want a short excursion where we can help you out in that instance there. So this is how we kind of build our destinations slightly differently. We do travel all over the world. Basically, the only place we don't really go to is probably the Galapagos at the minute. But beyond that, we're even getting into Antarctica these days. I'll start off just here. This is our kind of bread and butter. This is just a 10-day sailing. Again, it's that kind of Goldilocks zone that we're really aiming for. We're not just typically out there for a 7-day, quick Barcelona to Rome. We want to immerse you in that destination that little bit longer. So our wheelhouse is typically kind of 10 to 12 days. And here's a good example, actually. So, for example, here, we're going into Monte Carlo. We're not in Villefranche, which is 20 minutes down the road. We are in Amalfi and Positano. We're not docking into Naples, which the big ships have to do because they're just simply too big to get into those ships or into those ports of call. So again, we're just kind of trying to deliver this in a slightly different way. Again, here, just to kind of give you a little bit of difference as well. Again, we're going into Sorrento and Capri here. The large ships can't do that. We're getting you into Cagliari in Sardinia, so we're getting you into these slightly different ports to call as well. Some of the popular sailings, I don't know if you guys have seen this year, but kind of closer to home sailings have been really popular. Here we've got a really fantastic Canada, New England, and again here we're going in round about that time of year where we're hitting the fall colours. We're one of the few cruise lines actually that go all the way through to Montreal. Most of the big lines, they actually have to stop in Quebec City because generally there's this bridge that's in the way that the big ships just can't get under, and we're one of the few that can do that. Here, actually, this is an interesting concept as well. So this is our circumnavigation of Ireland, and why I bring this one up is that with Oceania, we actually include the airfare as part of your cruise. Now, you can actually change that airfare if you so wish to fly up to 3 weeks early and up to 3 weeks post if needs be. And this sailing here was actually one of the most popular sailings for that air amendment, and that we were finding a lot of people that were going back to kind of visit family heritage. So they were flying in, they were touring the interior of Ireland, visiting that family heritage, and then coming and doing the circumnavigation of Ireland here. So don't just think of us as a cruise line here. We're here where obviously you can coordinate with Laura and Scott to do some fantastic land tours and kind of again immerse you into the heart of that destination as well.
I love that itinerary.
Let me touch on something.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, every single one of his itineraries was, yeah. I'm like, can I do that one? Can I do that one? But so I will say that most of the people watching this video, Oceania, are probably going to be seasoned cruisers, but there's going to be some who are brand new to cruising who want to know what he's talking about here. And I'm just going to give it 30 seconds. So if you go into one of the ports that he mentioned, like in Naples, and then you have to disembark, and then you get on a bus, and then you spend an hour getting somewhere, and an hour getting back, but you have 8 hours in port, versus getting off and being right in where you want to be. That 8 hours is completely different 8 hours. So that's what seasoned cruisers will know. Newbies may not realize that there's sometimes on the big boys, because it's the nature of how large they are, there's a lot of time spent on buses getting to places. The little guys can get you right there.
And even Scott, just getting off the ship. You know what I mean? It's like for us, you walk off and there you are. You're in the heart of the destination, right? It's not you're waiting for an elevator for 5 minutes because all the people from floor 18 are coming down to floor 2, right? Mm-hmm. Again, it's small things like this that make a big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference.
We were in Sicily and we had a
safari, hon.
Sorry, what? That.
Go ahead, Laura.
Oh, okay. No, we were in Sicily and we were on a big cruise ship and we had a tender and we waited 2 hours just to get the tender back, as compared to being there were cruise ships that were docked, smaller ones. But we had a tender because it was too far for us. So we had to wait 2 hours just to get back. So it's all about the size of
Yeah.
the ship.
I mean, you're trying to maximize your time and destination, right? So again, that's a small thing, but it makes a big difference.
You have to
Um,
you have to remove this slide right away because this is you reaching into my pocket to make my wife happy. This is her dream right here.
Yeah, well, actually, the reason I mentioned in this one here is that we don't often repeat a lot of cruises. So one thing, if you really hone in on a sailing that you're like, hey, that's of an interest to us, honestly, try not to be on the fence because we might not repeat it the following year. Having said that, there is one kind of staple that we will always do. There's a Dubai down at Cape Town, and then a Cape Town over at Singapore, and then a Singapore back over to Dubai. This sailing here, again, you can actually get an extra 3 or 4 days prior to the sailing, so you can actually go on African safari here. So there's some land tour opportunities here that kind of make a big difference. We're known as a cruise line to get to many different countries on some itineraries, but we're also known as well where we can go into the heart of the destination and really get you immersed into that destination more than ever before. Here we have some Tokyo sailings that will actually be repeating in 2024 because of the popularity of these fantastic sailings here. And what this does is, if you notice the time of year, so we're March and April, so we're getting you in the heart of the destination because we're trying to get you there for when special events happen. So this coincides with the Cherry Blossom Festival whilst we're in Japan. So you're getting into Kyoto and these great unique ports of call where you're experiencing that destination at that precise moment in time where it's so unique. Again, to kind of create that memory for you too. We're small enough, like even to go up the Amazon River. So here we actually spent a full 7 days sailing the Amazon with this really unique sailing going from Miami all the way down to Rio.
That's
So
cool.
we're going all the way up into the heart of the Amazon into the town of Manaus, which is again a really unique opportunity for you to experience there as well. So again, that smallness of these lines, what we can deliver something that's slightly unique and slightly different to maybe what you've been accustomed to in the past.
I want to do that one.
Yeah, as I
I wanna do
mentioned, as I mentioned as well, we've just introduced the Antarctic sailings as well. So these are kind of unique sailings where, again, going into Lima, we've got the opportunity to go see Machu Picchu. You get through into the fjords in Chile, again, to see some of these really unique wildlife. When we're going into Port Stanley, you can see the penguins there. So again, some of these kind of big, unique destinations that a lot of guests want to go. Here, it's a uniqueness again is that we're one of the few lines to actually go up the west coast of Africa. We're going into like Walvis Bay in Namibia, again, where you get the opportunity to see some of this really fantastic wildlife. We're going into some very interesting ports of call, where we're going up into, say, Dakar, like really famous for that Paris to Dakar rally race. So again, just off that beaten path to kind of create that uniqueness within destinations that you maybe not have initially thought of before. I don't know about you guys, but I know one of the things that I've found this year is that people are kind of making up for lost time in the last few years.
Yes.
So one of the biggest trends that we have seen is guests looking at these longer sailings more than ever before. So if you're that guest that's maybe sailed for 7 days before, it's not the opportunity that you're looking for like a 2 or a 3 week sailing this year. If you're that guest who's been on a 3 week sailing, hey, if you've done 21 days, what's 82 days, right? So again, we've introduced what we call our grand voyages. We've built in some really great opportunities here with some really built-in value with you here. Here, actually, again, the uniqueness here is that when we reach into Mumbai, we give you the opportunity to take an overland tour where you can actually fly up to go see the kingdoms of Bhutan and Nepal. So who thought about taking a cruise to go see the Himalayas? It's
Yeah.
again, it's slightly different of how we try and deliver these very unique destinations.
I would do that one,
I
Scott.
guess,
Yeah, I'm sure you
yeah.
would.
Now, here it's not just about the destinations themselves, but how we deliver you into those destinations. So here we have our Go Local tours. These are small tours where we'll take 8 to 12 people. We take you again in the heart of that destination, and we will take you off to see how the locals live and what they do in those destinations. So again, that kind of uniqueness of learning about the destination that you're going into. We appeal to a lot of ex-professionals, so you'll tend to find that a lot of ex-engineers and architects. So we built in a new concept this year called Beyond Blueprints. So this is not just necessarily about going studying architecture. We actually go into the south of France, into Toulouse, and for example, we go and visit the Airbus factory, and we see how they build those massive A380s, I think it is. So again, when we're getting into the destination, it's not just about a city tour. It's not just about a walking tour. We're doing something slightly different when we're in those destinations as well. And personally, as I said, I was on a very similar itinerary to this last year, so just wanted to share kind of some of the heart of the destination. So this is when we were in Istanbul. So we were at the brand new pier in Istanbul. So as you can see, we're across from some of those unique those unique destinations with the mosques. In Istanbul, like again, it's the gateway between Asia and Europe. So we're right in that heart of the destination. This was the view from our terrace cafe. So dining an al fresco of an evening. It was just again fantastic, fantastic vistas from here. It was just it was a great evening. We're able to see some of these great unique ports of call. So this was when we were into Ephesus. And we saw the Library of Ephesus. Great tour here where we had a really knowledgeable tour guide taking us through that Roman city. So it was just so interesting to find out they've only discovered I think 10 to 15% of that city, and this is part of it here, which is fantastic. This was the amphitheater where this is where my last presentation was, Scott. So but yeah, this is I think where St. Paul talked to the Ephesians. And even just into the small town of Rhodes, here, this was photos that I took myself. So as you can see, we were just one of the only ships in town that day for 1,200 passengers. So the streets were empty and to yourself, really. This was like one of the forts in Rhodes itself. And really how we wrap it all up here, because we want to build in value for you as guests. As I mentioned, we have one standard offer that Laura and Scott will be able to help you with. Really, again, it's a lot about the amenities that we already include. So we include internet. People want to be connected these days, guys. Specialty restaurants all included. If you've had that 36-ounce porter steak and you're still hankering after a cheeseburger at 2 in the morning, we've got 24-hour room service. On the occasion when we're not in the city centre, we'll provide shuttles for you to get into there. Actually, a small part is like we will bring on local tourist agency on board the ship, so that somebody will be able to provide you like a small walking map if you want to go off and do your own thing. Fitness classes are always included in access into the spa. And basically anything that's non-alcoholic, so that's your cappuccinos and your smoothies, and even small things like bottled water. The fewer times you're dipping into the pocket to pull out the key card to pay for small things like this, the more of a relaxation that you've got on board. And even for me, like for example, the laundrette, it's a small thing. But if you're I tell you, it's pretty hard to pack for 82 days. So it's a small thing here. I mean, I abhor like when I sometimes go on some of these larger lines where I have to pay $7 to get my shirt pressed. I can just go in the laundrette, do it myself.
Yeah. It's not so small when you're starting to stink. It's a very big thing.
Now, one thing, obviously, we build itineraries out pretty far. So we've got itineraries 2 to almost 2.5, 3 years out available for you. So often you get the question, well, why should I book so far out in advance? One thing, please book with confidence. Laura and Scott are here to assist you the whole way. and really it's risk free. You can put a refundable deposit down. Most of the time it's all the way through until about 180 to 120 days out, so you don't have any risk at that point there. The great thing as well is that we have a price guarantee. I know often, if you see sometimes that you're like, oh, I booked so early out and now there's this fantastic deal. Honestly, with Oceania, it literally takes 300 couples in the world to book one of our ships completely out. So often, more often than not, you'll actually see the price increase the closer you get to our sailings. But in the odd occasion, if you do see a price that has dropped, we will always protect that for you as well. And often as well here with Laura and Scott, because they're part of a larger consortium, we also offer many different sailings that also include gratuities as well. So they'll be able to pinpoint some sailings for you that bring that additional value. A couple of things I'd just like to say right now. Right now we have a fantastic upgrade sale through to the 30th of June. Along with, we introduced what we call our extraordinary savings, and we want a lot of new guests to try us out. Sometimes price point there, it can be a little bit more than you're accustomed to with maybe some cruise lines that you've sailed with in the past. We would love for you to try us out. Again, this is valid through the 30th of June. However, if Scott and Laura, they're able to pinpoint the exact promotion that will be able to coordinate with your needs. So do reach out. And really, that's about us in a nutshell. I know it's a pretty long nutshell, but that's kind of where we're at.
No, I think the beauty of an Oceania is that you're priced, if we're going to talk pricing, and there's so much else that's the beauty of Oceania, but if we're going to talk pricing, when you go to the mass market and you start putting in the gratuities, and you start putting in the internet, you start putting in the coffees that are not included, and you start adding it up, don't tell me about your entry price. Tell me about what you paid at the end. And then compare prices. And then think about what you get for that price. That's all I'm going to say about pricing.
It goes a long way, right? It's as I say, like sometimes we can sometimes have a little bit of sticker shock depending on some of the sailing. I mean, if you're looking at 82-day sailing, it's a pretty long time. Having said that, one thing, our per diem prices are actually we do a world cruise of 180 days. So sometimes guests ask, what's the best value you can provide? Well, it's 180 days. It's our lowest per diem cost. But yeah, I mean, yes, sometimes there is that sticker shock, but do understand.
To be fair to you, though, the sticker shock on your 82 day is the same sticker shock on a mass market 82 day. That's massive too. That's not cheap.
No, they're not. But but when you kind of value those inclusions that you're getting whilst on board,
exactly.
When you're in the destination, you're doing it with fewer guests. You're doing it with, you're doing it in unique ports of call with fewer ships in there as well. It goes into a memorable experience, and really at the end of the day, it's about the memorable experience that we're trying to
There's
provide.
always the chance of meeting Guillaume on board, which is well worth the price.
If only I was on board that often.
Right? We have 2 dogs, and we've said that once they pass, which is many years from now, but once we're going to take one of those 80-something day cruises, I'll have to bring my laptop on board and work while I'm on the ship.
But then you get your internet included there, Laura. So it's you'll be able to work, no problem at all.
Awesome. Speaking of, do you have Starlink yet?
We are starting to retrofit it. So the Vista was the first ship to have Starlink introduced, and we'll be introducing that into the rest of the fleet. So. So far so good. We've heard really great things about the Starlink, and it's really made a big difference for connectivity.
Yes, we've used it twice now on different ships, and it's night and day. And Laura was really able to do some work and have conference calls, and night and day. It's phenomenal.
I can't.
But this is not about Starlink and Elon. This is about Guillaume, Laura.
I know. I was just.
Well, the unique thing that you'll find out. So Scott's very familiar with my manager, a guy called Joe. I was able to get a tour of the shower because Joe was on board the Vista, and he's like, "Man, you got to see the shower. It's so big." I was like, "Wait, what are you doing to me right now?" And he decides to lift up his laptop and take it right into the shower. Give me a tour of the shower. It was I've got to say, very large. It was, but he's like, you could get 3 people in here. It's fantastic.
Don't make me slap an NC-17 rating on this video, bro.
Well, we're
Give it a
very
PG
excited
here.
because we will actually be on the Vista in a couple months.
Yeah.
It's gonna be amazing.
Very excited to see it.
Very excited.
Yeah.
We can't wait to hear your report back.
I can't imagine there's anything but positive things to say. Looks amazing. It really does. Really, really does.
Awesome. That was a great
So, all right.
presentation. Thank you. What makes Oceania extraordinary, it really sets it apart worlds from some other cruise lines. And I really thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Absolutely. I don't think I've been left with any questions.
No, you were
Along the way, I was thinking of things, and then he had eventually answered them anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, all
yes,
encompassing
I
here.
know. Well, ladies and gentlemen in YouTube land, if you have liked this video, please like and subscribe with the notification bell on. That will let us know that we are doing something right. We should keep doing what we're doing. And if you are looking to book a cruise, please do reach out to us. We would love to help you plan your next extraordinary adventure. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Guillaume. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.